All right, big question for the group. I'm going to keep it Arsenal theme because we just beat United, and that is a massive fucking result. Has Eddie Nketiah already cemented his spot as a starter when Gabriel Jesus comes back? Is that just a non-conversation?
I think it's going to be hard to get him off his stoop, for real. And I think it's not fair to kind of unseat him when Jesus comes back. He's definitely came in and hit the ground running and has definitely proved himself that he deserves in the first team. So proud of Eddie. That's my son. He's definitely been doing his thing. So I'm happy for that.
I'm happy for him too. It's a great question though, right? Like Andre, your manager, bro, your coach Dre. Like, do you have to ride the hot hand, or do you think Gabriel Jesus did enough prior to his injury to warrant some consideration when he comes back?
No, you run the hot hand, especially for a season that you guys still have ahead in terms of, European football, cups, and a long run in the league. You got to go with the streaky guy, right? You got to go with the hot hand. It's almost like in baseball when you ride whoever the pitcher is that's doing the best, right? So you got to go with your guy. Now, that being said, though, if Jesus does come back and he's got 10 days of really good practice, it's a good decision for Arteta to have. Do you play them both at the same time?
That's a great question.
Do you play one of them on the wing? I don't know. I mean,
he had that role both, right? At City. At City,
that's what I'm saying.
Jesus had that role where he would take the wing sometimes. I don't like that role for him. I think that's when we got Trossard, right? Yeah, I think it's tough to try and change the formation all the way around to bring both of them in. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, El, would you say that Nketiah has it until he has a bad game, or do you give him a longer leash?
I think until he has a bad game. I think if Jesus is streaking in like Europa and the cup ties, if he's playing well there, and Nketiah slips up, then I think you'll see the switch. But until then, I think you run with Eddie. Eddie is beasting out there.
He is, man. And I you know what, man? I'm going to be the first to own it. I wasn't that big of a fan of Eddie, bro. I just wasn't. It was so hard. I wanted him to be so good as early as like a couple seasons ago, especially when you hear about all the records he set as a youngster at the U23 level. I was like, perfect. We got a guy who knows how to sniff the goals out, who knows how to be clinical in front of net. He's young. He's hungry. He's learning behind seasoned veterans. Like, this is perfect. And then you would see like just flashes of what he could do in the Europa League, and it's Europa League, and it's also him out of rhythm. He wasn't playing consistently, so like you only see very, very brief flashes of what he could do. Yeah. But God, I love Eddie now, man. He's just Thierry, Eddie, and Nketiah, man. He's out here just finding a way to get the job done in the hardest games imaginable. And I will say, did everybody see the United match yesterday? It was probably, in my opinion, one of the games of the season so far.
Yeah,
it was amazing, and Eddie got the winner there. He got 2 goals.
Cult hero for sure.
Cult hero for sure. I don't know. I don't know what Arteta's going to do, because I think people forget how impactful Gabriel Jesus was outside of scoring prior to his injury. He did so much of the legwork.
To that point, Eddie has modeled his game after Gabriel's game. So I think it's more of like a system thing. So it's like, this is how you play as a 9 in our system. And Eddie's been able to do that. So I don't think that'll be the thing. I think it'll be if like a slip in form happens, then you got to make the switch. But it's a great problem to have for sure.
Yeah,
I'm not mad at it,
Yeah, I'm not mad at it either. And it's kind of crazy though. I was reading on Twitter that like there were like just a couple months ago, people were saying that Eddie wouldn't even break into like Newcastle starting striker role or like some of these other things, right? And now it's like, I don't know. Should England be looking at this guy as a striker call up? Should Arteta just go ahead and cement it until he has not even just a game that's bad, but 2 or 3 where that's more considered a bad run of form where he's just not scoring, that he's earned it up to this point with some of the games. I think if he does it against City, and we're going to find out really quickly, if he does it against City, man, I don't know if Gabriel Jesus comes back into it. It's so tough at that point. But anyway, we'll see. It's a conversation that we're going to have a little bit today on the show. Box to Box, episode, what is this now? 26, 25? I'm pretty sure it's 25.
I think you might be right.
Yeah. I feel like we're going through the numbers every week, and I just forget every single week. But nonetheless, we're here now. Box to Box presented by GOLZtv, GOLZtv, guys, where you can find, as I always mention, where you can find free, unlimited footy content, some of the best fan-generated content on the internet today. Go check it out, GOLZtv, where you can also find Box to Box. And guys, per usual, we have another guest on the pod today. Super pumped that he's here. Probably one of the more original episodes I think we're going to have, simply because this guest, I'm not going to hype him up too much. I think he can do a lot of that himself. But guy is running an organization and a content machine that I think is just becoming more and more visible as the days and weeks go on, and on a mission that is extremely unique with 2Cents FC. So we're going to talk about it, but I'd like to go ahead and introduce our formal guest for today, L. Johnson. L, welcome into Box to Box, man. We're so happy to have you here. It's Monday, bro. How are you feeling?
Hey, first of all, pleasure to be on. Thank you so much. Monday, Mondays are Mondays. Definitely a busy start to the week, but I'm ready. I'm locked in. So, like as you mentioned before, there's a lot of exciting things on the horizon. So excited to kind of get the week started and get it going.
Hell yeah, man. We're glad that you're here. And as usual, guys, we are joined by our mainstay hosts, Andre Gutierrez, a.k.a. Coach Dre, GGSK, a.k.a. Alina. Alina, we didn't talk about it a lot before the weekend. I kind of pinged you about it on Discord, but we never brought it up on Box to Box. So let's bring it up now. Juventus handed the 15-point deduction in real time, which is actually kind of crazy, right? It's affecting this season. So how are you feeling so far?
Well, I just pretended that I didn't get your ping on Twitter because I was like, yeah, I'm just still sleeping. This is a dream. I'm just going to pinch myself a couple times. And then you guys pinged me on Discord. I was like, this is it. This is real. It's happening. But it's surreal. Honestly, it's surreal. It came out of nowhere. There was always, investigation rumors and things like that going on in the background, but we never thought it was going to come to this point. And I could take like 3 hours talking about this. I'm really frustrated because there has been a lot of other teams involved in the same case.
I heard that. Yeah,
Napoli,
and you guys seem to be the only one that were punished, right?
Yeah. So weird. Napoli is also involved, and they haven't even opened the case against them, because if they do open the case this season, then that means they might not win. Which is, wow. In Italy, you either love Juve or you absolutely hate Juve. There's no in between.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's hopefully they will appeal it, or appeal the punishment, and then we'll go from there.
I think they will. I think they're going to appeal. I mean, it's the only shot they have in their wheelhouse, right? Like, go ahead and just do it, see what happens. Maybe the 15 points becomes 9 or something, and you have a chance at saving something this season. But
it was supposed to be 9. It was supposed to be 9 at like 5 p.m. Italy time. It was 9, and then the judge was like, "Well, no, that's not enough far away from Roma, so might as well give them another 6 points." But it's an interesting case.
The judge is not a Juve fan. Yeah.
No.
Oh man, I can't even imagine what I'd be doing. I think if my team was going through this, but it's just such a weird case to follow. A lot more to unpack there, I think, over time. But we'll talk about it a little bit. I'm curious to see how Elle feels about some of that stuff too.
Here I thought that Liga MX was, here I thought Liga MX was dramatic, but leave it to the Italians to out drama the Mexicans. Holy shit.
I mean, Liga MX is still pretty dramatic, bro. But
I know.
But nonetheless, we're here. All right, guys. Look, we got Elle. I don't want to waste any time here. Let's jump right into it. And Elle, we're gonna talk about a little bit of everything today. I think the first thing that I want to do, as I always do on this show, and people know it, they know what question's coming. Let's kick it off here. Your formal interview. This show is all about you, Elle Johnson. Let's focus you as a person if you want, or you could take any approach you'd like to this. Who are you today?
Wow, who am I today? Busy, but not.
I love it.
I'm a father, husband, obviously, and then I'm also, a fledgling entrepreneur. I'll say that. Definitely out the window, building my parachute on the way down. But really, I'm just a creative who loves to tell stories in sports, and trying to find, creative and unique ways to do that. So I guess that's who I am today at the very high level. I'm sure we'll get into more as we kind of go, but that's pretty much the high level of it.
Love it, man. Creative, a hustler, and you're just now kind of paving your foundation for what your entrepreneurial career is going to be. And on top of all of that, you wrap it all around the soccer umbrella. I love it, man. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this space continues to change, not just because of your actions, everything, this mission that you're on, but I do have this sense that more and more business-minded folks, entrepreneurs, are going to start entering this space as soccer continues to grow. So I feel like you are kind of trailblazing a little bit here. But let's start at the beginning, man. I think the proper way to get our audience, introduced to you at a very high level is to talk about some of the things that you work on. You mentioned the first word that you mentioned to describe yourself is busy. What does busy mean, man? What's the average day like for L. Johnson?
Sheesh. Average day for me, I would say, is at least 3 to 4 meetings. A lot of marking things off a checklist. So whether it be editing content, creating show scripts, or even like working on the actual 2centsfc.com website. So where it's like throwing articles up, coordinating with other team members. There's never, the day is never the same. I'll put it like that. Well, the only consistent thing is there's going to be at least 2 meetings a day, or 2 types of things that I have to do where I have to sit on, a webcam and converse with people. But it's all exciting work. I'm wearing multiple hats. So I'm like, I like to say I'm one man with multiple hats. So throughout the day, I can be putting on different types of hats for different types of endeavors as well. So I have 2Cents FC. Then I'm a partner in a new pro soccer team called the Town FC, which is based out of Oakland, Bay Area, East Bay. And then I'm also working on another project kind of on the agency side, content agency side. So kind of getting that off the ground as well and getting ramped up on that side. So that's another thing that's being added to the plate. But definitely a fun time, exciting time, and lots of cool things on the horizon.
Yeah, so, man. And by the way, guys, if you haven't, Andre, have you seen? I know we talk a lot on Twitter. Have you seen the Town FC hoodies?
Oh yeah, insane,
bro. They're fire. I just ordered one.
Sick.
I just ordered one last week. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're awesome, guys. If you haven't checked them out, there's a couple other merch items there as well. Yeah. They just announced them, I think, a week or 2 ago. But you mentioned L wearing more than one hat. Look, man, I feel you on that. The days are never the same. You got to figure out where to balance your time. You're literally wearing a 2Cents FC hat right now. For those who are just listening and not watching, walk me through 2Cents, bro. Like, who was involved in bringing that to the forefront? Who was involved in bringing that organization to what it is today? Like, was it just you? Were there other people involved? Like, you guys have a very specific mission. Walk me through how it all started.
I would say 2Cents kind of had 2 lives. So it's in its first life, it started out as a podcast with a former NFL player named Jason Richardson. It was 2Cents with Jason Richardson. He was kind of getting into broadcasting. So we were like offering him kind of like another outlet to kind of start building his reel up, so to speak. And I was working with a partner of mine a long time, business partner of mine at the time. And then from there, we were like, all right, we need to expand into other sports. So we kind of started 2Cents Sports. And so as part of that, the first show outside of, Jay's show was 2Cents FC. And that's where me and Amobi Akugo, it was supposed to be a Moby show by himself, and he'll bring on guests and stuff like that. But somehow I ended up as a B mic, and the rest is history. We're about 88 episodes in right now. But 2Cents FC was like the second show on this network that we were looking to build. And I just kind of, being a soccer fan and kind of seeing the gaps in the market, like everybody's talking about basketball, football, American football, and, it's other sports, but nobody's really talking about soccer in America from the African-American lens. Right. So that's why 2Cents FC was kind of an angle or a lane that I thought that one that we can kind of go deep on. So began to continue to build the show. But then I saw more promise in, all right, let's focus strictly on soccer. You know, I think this was before the World Cup was announced in 2026, but I knew that, you know, soccer was a blue ocean, so to speak, for the type of content that we were looking to do. And there's a very small community on Twitter and stuff like that of other African-American creators who were talking about soccer and had their own podcasts and stuff like that. And I felt like it was an opportunity, you know, for us to kind of like build this community and really like own our piece of the culture, so to speak. So I wanted to go deep on the soccer side. You know, my former partner wanted to focus on other sports. So we chose to kind of go our separate ways on that. And I took 2Cents FC and decided to focus on that and build something from that. And then from there, I've begun to recruit some of these other, you know, podcasts and media outlets that were also in the same space as us. Because, you know, strength in numbers, right? So we're stronger together. We're all kind of small in our own ways, but together we can kind of aggregate audience and kind of build and grow, you know, stronger together, right? So that's where 2Cents FC that you see now, or that you saw maybe a year ago, that's where I was. So kind of building a network of podcasts and other media outlets, media personalities in the Black and brown space. Who are and
let me stop you there really quick. You mentioned a lot of other shows. Walk me through, man. Like how many are we talking about in this network? Like, is it massive? Are there dozens and dozens, or are you just kind of getting started?
It's not dozens and dozens. There's a good amount of us. So we'll break it down. For the Culture is basically like a fan culture show, around the horn type of show. And then we have Shea Butter FC, which is focused strictly on women's soccer. So 2 Black women's perspective on NWSL, U.S. Women's National Team, Liga MX Femenil. Like, they touch on basically anything women's soccer. So they're really popping right now. We have Can I Kick It, which is basically like a black soccer history podcast. We have Dreaming of Freedom, which is a similar to Can I Kick It in a way, but it's more so focused on and around Inter Miami. So these are individuals who are a part of Inter Miami supporters group, Black supporters group called the Black Herons, and they started a podcast to kind of go along with that. Then we have Walking 90, which is strictly focused on USL League One, and we have I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. 2Cents FC show, obviously.
Lot, it's kind of crazy how much you guys have. How did you guys go about acquiring them? Like, did they, maybe you didn't acquire, maybe that's the wrong word, but how did you guys go about partnering and getting everybody to buy into this mission? Because I feel like it's noble to go after, for sure. And it's definitely going to make, you know, inroads and waves to the right people. But this is a very new idea. You know, how did you, for anybody who's listening that's thinking about trying something new in this brand new space, whether it be soccer or anything else that's sports related, how could they go about it? Like, how did you approach, you know, some of these content groups? And I don't know, what was some of their feedback initially?
I mean, really just having a plan and a vision for how it could be if everybody contributes and, you know, we kind of work together. So that was the main thing, being able to articulate a vision for them and like where they fit, and then the benefits that we could bring to the table. It's like, we don't have any money, so we can't pay you. None of us are really doing numbers enough to attract advertising. So as a part of that, what we can offer is support. You know, I have a design background, so, you know, support in whether it be digital assets that you need for social media, or even like consulting and helping you out with, you know, some of your visual aspects and, you know, the quality of your show. And then also the community, right? So building a community together, we all maybe have different audiences, or there may be some overlap here and there, but like we all bring our audiences together, and that can kind of help us kind of push some things forward. And then as far as 2Cents FC as a brand, being able to leverage that brand to, you know, do collaborative work with, you know, MLS, USL, NWSL, et cetera. You know, as being a part of the umbrella, it kind of opens the door if you're in your particular niche, where we can do partnerships with these various leagues, in North America. So that was another kind of angle, or I guess value add that was on the table with, joining the crew. But other than that, it was just like, we were all cool, and it's like, hey, we're trying to build something over here, and why don't you get down with us? We like the vision of your podcast or your show, and we feel like we can add some value to you, and we think you would fit a particular niche within what we're trying to build. So why don't you come kick it?
I love that, man. That's awesome. Yeah, it's always kind of interesting, right, to hear how any leader out there is like bringing others together for a shared vision and cause. It's like, I went through kind of some similar things, I think, with GOLZtv, right? Talking to Alina for the first time, and never even we never even saw each other's faces when we met, right? It was like just over a voice Discord call.
Yeah, Discord call.
And she had to buy into a vision that I had from a random stranger, right? Just a random stranger on the internet who's expressed some kind of interest in the content you're building, and reaching out to talk about an idea that nobody's ever really kind of launched before. It's kind of scary, I think, from our end, right? Like, you're just putting yourself out there. Hopefully they resonate. Hopefully they don't shit on it. And then you just kind of keep it moving, man. But I don't know. Have there been any obstacles to you, I don't know, building up 2Cents FC? Like, it sounds like, you've done a pretty good job of aggregating the group and really kind of creating some visibility for what you guys are doing. Like, I don't know. Has it all been roses and daisies, or have you stumbled a little bit along the way?
I mean, I think the biggest obstacle is probably the attention. So fighting for attention in a busy internet, you know what I mean? Like, everybody's jockeying for attention. So what's the best way for us to kind of get attention and get our voices heard? That's probably been the most difficult part of it. But at the same time, it's like, let me just continue to do what I do. And regardless of, whoever's gonna get down or whatever, I'm gonna continue to do what I'm doing and continue to focus and continue to put out high quality work, and elevate my standards every time, I release an episode or release a piece of content. That's the main thing. And then, continue to build networks and, create inroads with, decision makers who can, possibly, get us some checks. You know what I mean? So, everybody looks at followers, they look at reach, all these other things, but there's also value in being able to tell a story about a niche that you guys haven't been able to tell stories about, up to this point, or been able to tell effectively. You know what I mean? So, as we all know, kind of, not to go back on a rant, but as we all know, the soccer landscape in America is catered very much towards the affluent. So when it comes to African American community, we don't really see ourselves in the game, or that's not really something that we naturally gravitate to, because A, it's super expensive to play, and it shouldn't be, and B, it just was never popular in our community because of that, right? You have some that have broken through, that, played rec and then kind of stayed in it, and, were good and kind of were able to matriculate through college and stuff like that. But the majority of us probably played at some point when we were kids and just didn't after a certain, when it came to like playing organized, like, all right, I'm gonna go play football or I'm gonna go play basketball. It's cheaper, it's easy, it's more effective for my parents to, put me in this because it's cheaper. And if I have aspirations of going pro, I see a pathway. I see, I know if I go to high school, get recruited, go to college, then, get drafted. You see a clear pathway for basketball and football. But soccer, up until recently, you didn't really see that, especially in America, you didn't really see that pathway as clearly as you may now with, there's a lot more academies, MLS teams have academies now. There are a lot more grassroots organizations, helping kids to, helping to create access to the game for kids and, expose them to those, new opportunities. And then, you have several pathways that you can kind of take, whether you go academy straight to pro, or you go, academy to college, et cetera. So at some point there's like a lack of awareness, right? So a lack of awareness of a pathway. And I think those things are the things that we're trying to help uncover a little bit. outside of just like showing people that like soccer is cool, you know, like and soccer resonates in our community as well. And like there's parallels there that you can like, if you actually, take some time to like check it out, like you'll get down with it. You would fall in love with it. So we want to try to be that conduit to, opening the gates for the African American community in North America, to kind of start engaging with the game a little bit more.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I'll be the first to say, I mean, Andre and I have talked about it a lot offline. And he's a coach, so he can articulate it probably better than I can. But we've always felt that playing in this country, unfortunately, playing competitively here, it's not a joke by any means. There's definitely great competition, but there's so much quality that falls through the cracks just because of the system of how. I'm a minority too. I think we all are probably in this call. And at the end of the day, I don't think any of us had parents that came from affluent means. We all had to be in this pay to play system if you chose to play competitively here. And if it wasn't for, I'll be honest, if it wasn't for another parent, other family paying the full dues so that I could have, some kind of financial lenience there, right? Some kind of a quote unquote scholarship or a way to actually play for free, I never would have played. Like I never would have played competitively. It wouldn't have been worth it. Andre has a different story, and maybe Andre, you kind of go into it on your end. He grew up playing in Mexico, in the academies down there, probably for that reason. I'm sure, Andre, if your family had it their way, maybe they would have came to the States sooner, but I don't know if it would have been an advantage to you.
No, definitely not. And I also think that the one of the biggest pieces, at least when I was going through the process, is lack of education. And what I mean by that is there may be some resources available, like the ones that were available to you, right, Jose, that my parents had no idea. Like my parents were like, can you even play soccer in college? Like, we don't know. We don't know what the path looks like. So I had to kind of forge that for myself, going through the motions of like, I know what I know. And that's as simple as that, right? Like, I know that the system in Mexico is developed where like you've got the first team, pro team, then you've got the U23s all the way down to like U13s, right? So that's what I knew. And, at that point you start getting to an age where if you could break into a first team at say 17, 18 years old, then it does get a little bit more political, right? Do you know the VP of player development? Do you know, do you go to school with the coach's son? So it does become this regardless of how good you are, unless you're like a Chicharito or Carlos Vela, who were both above me, just a year older, under the Chivas youth development, and everybody knew who those guys were, but everybody else just get kind of lost in the mud. And then that's when my family decided to move to the U.S. So I was lucky enough to get recruited to play in college through a completely different process, right? So I experimented with both, and I experienced both of them, and I can see the benefit to having both of them as an experience. But my experience was very unique. Not a lot of kids can say that they're able to play in both countries growing up. So no, I think what you guys are doing, Al, is amazing. I was actually going to ask you if that's a big role of what you see 2Cents becoming, right, as this conduit for African American kids who want to play and they just don't really know, they don't have the resources, or they just don't have the knowledge or the education, from whether it's like their parents' background or even their own neighborhood. So it's great to see that you guys are definitely considering it as a top priority. It's awesome.
But that's a great question. How is soccer prioritized in the African American community?
Like, how does it rank?
I want to make soccer cool for everybody. Like that's my mission. Like I want to make this sport cool for everybody, regardless of what you play or what your parents played. Like when you think about sports, right? I know in the Hispanic community, for us, soccer is very, very high up. It is one of the top sports that you can play. There's a lot of almost honor that goes into playing a sport like that. But it's also an education thing. Like my parents, all they see are vicious hits with American football in the NFL, so they don't want me to do that. They think basketball's pretty cool, but I'm a short guy. So like logically, they put some things together and they're like, hey, like this was the best sport for you. But like how is soccer prioritized in the African American community? Like I don't know, is it not even mentioned, or is it just, are there more pathways, like you said, to go the basketball or the American football route?
Yeah, I think you got to kind of go back to like the thing about like the diaspora, right? So you have African Americans who were brought here via slavery, that kind of thing. Those individuals, is probably prioritized a lot lower because it's not a part of the culture. You know, football, basketball is part of our culture. Like if you're like straight American, parents were American for generations, football, basketball is part of your culture. However, if you're of Caribbean descent or of African descent, or somewhere where football is the number one sport, then in those households, it's a little bit higher. It's highly prioritized, right? Or it's prioritized a lot higher. So you have to think about what segment of, you know, the Black community or Black African, however you want to kind of, you know, categorize it, what segment of the community you're talking to, right? So when it comes to 2Cents FC, we know that there are Black people here in America who love soccer, grew up on soccer, that kind of thing. A lot of times they're from, you know, African or Caribbean, you know, backgrounds. Like that's their lineage, like their parents may be immigrants, or they may be like second or third generation, right? So yeah, that's part of your culture. You grew up in that. So those are the individuals you see a lot who are actually playing, you know, like USL, MLS, like, but when it comes to like straight African American, you know, kids, you don't see a whole lot of them because it's not a part of our culture. So being able to kind of shift the culture and kind of open the window a little bit more and like, hey, look, this sport is for you. You can see yourself in this sport. There are pathways for you to go pro in this sport if you want to. There's also pathways for you to work in this sport without having to kick a ball. You can be on the media side. You can be a broadcaster. You can, you know, be a creative, you know, shooting pictures and videos. You know, there's other things that you can do to get engaged with the sport without having to actually play, right? I've never played soccer before. Like, kick a ball around here and there, but never played competitively. And at this point, I probably would never try because, you know, the way these knees are set up, like I'm too old to be, you know, too old to tear ACL at this stage in my life, right? So
yeah.
But I'll enjoy it from afar and, you know, definitely root on from the sidelines with my camera out. But so, Andre, to your point, when you asked about pathways or kind of creating those pathways, I think with 2Cents FC, what we're trying to do is create awareness of the game, show that the game is cool for our community. There's people from our community who actually watch the game, engage in it, and we try to make it as palatable and as easy to kind of jump into and digest as possible. We're very conscious about who we bring on our shows. So like definitely having Black coaches, Black players and stuff like that from around the leagues come on our shows so that people can see like there are people that look like you that play this game. They coach this game. You know, they work in media in this game. But then another aspect of 2Cents FC as a media brand is to also create those opportunities for individuals to work in the game, not necessarily being on the pitch, but also working in and around the game. So fortunately, we've been able to kind of have some individuals that we've met, you know, just over our time, kind of get their start in sports through working with us, whether it be starting in social media and then kind of getting opportunities through their universities and stuff like that to be able to kind of kick off, jumpstart their careers in sports. And so that's one aspect that I feel that I'm very passionate about in, you know, creating and opening those doors for more, you know, Black kids to get into sports media, you know, and soccer media specifically, because we're a minority in that space as well, you know. So that's where I see 2Cents FC having the greatest impact on, you know, this kind of access issue that we're having. And then, you know, my work with the Town FC is, you know, helping to unlock that other access issue on the playing side. So it's kind of twofold, but my mission is to get more Black and brown kids in America, you know, playing soccer, working in and around the game.
Perfect.
That's dope, man. I love that. I think it's I think we're on a same mission, just completely, you know, almost different lenses, right? Like we're trying to do it from what we think is a really cool way to make soccer interesting. You guys are focused a little more culturally and I would say community specific, right? So I think, you know, even here at GOLZtv and Box to Box, we have yet to really define what our, I don't know, community's voice kind of sounds like, who we're talking to. Is it a tried and true soccer fan base, or are these American fans who are a little more casual trying to break into soccer? I think that, post World Cup, this is something that I think a lot of people are still kind of talking about, is how much potential does this sport have in this country? Yeah. I'm really hoping that it's got, top 3, top 2 potential in this country long term. That would be amazing. I know it's kind of a pipe dream to think that we could knock off, someone like, American football in the NFL or basketball in the NBA. Baseball too. Yeah, 100%. Hockey is still a top 4 sport. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, I think so too. I'm a big believer. I think those top 2 that I mentioned are the ones to go after.
The other thing too is the World Cup being in 2026 is going to be instrumental. Like, that's a huge opportunity, not only for, folks like us who are trying to grow the game in a more, to your point, like different lenses, but we have the same idea in mind, right? Especially for minorities. But at the same time, for brands, like if you work for a brand and you have the ability to make decisions based on whether it's social media, marketing, advertising, whatever it might be, like the power of having something like a property like the World Cup in your own, let alone in your own region of the world, in your own country, is something that's paramount. And I think a lot of brands and also a lot of celebrities, meaning like the example that I always give is LeBron with the barbershop, right? So he knows kind of how to bring in people that resonate with his audience, and he knows the power of his own brand, right? So that's what I want to see from a soccer standpoint. Like, I feel like that's an opportunity that's been untapped, and I don't think people realize how, number one, how quickly time's going to go until we get to 2026, right? We're only 3.5 years away. And number two, like how big of a gold mine it is for somebody who's, especially if it's a new entrant, right? Or a brand that wants to cement itself as, hey, we're going to be pioneers or, front runners when it comes to soccer in, the Black community or the Hispanic community or you name it. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there because I think, all of us have an opportunity to kind of, really drive that mission forward, especially with 2026 coming up.
Yeah, dude, massive tournament. Personally, I'm going to be, I probably told Andre this. I'm probably going to drop like somewhere between 5 and 10K on me personally. Oh, yeah. Like just traveling
taking
to go
the whole
watch
month
games.
Off.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I want to go to games in Canada, I want to go to games in the US, and I want to go to games in Mexico. Like, it's just too big of an opportunity to pass. And I want to be able to say that, and what I expect to be North America's probably biggest sporting event ever.
Yep.
I want to say that I had hopefully a hand in bringing some of this fandom and what I get most excited about to other fans who are new to the game. But past that, I want to be able to say that I just lived it in a way that other casual fans here, even here in the States, didn't. So I'm super pumped about that one. But let's dial it back to you personally really quickly, because we talked a lot about 2Cents FC, and we're just a little over the halfway point in the show now. I mean, let's talk you, El. You mentioned you didn't play. So if you didn't play, what was your entry point into the game? Like, did you just watch it one day and start picking it up? Was there a team that got you over the line? Was there a player that you just I don't know, were lauding after as a kid? I mean, like, what allowed you to break into soccer?
Well, what's everybody's gateway drug into soccer at this point?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I have more than a few.
Gaming?
Exactly. Yeah. FIFA, right? So FIFA. That's kind of how I got introduced to the game. Like, when I was younger, I used to buy every single EA game that came out, right? It didn't matter, like hockey, golf, whatever.
I would say PGA too?
Yeah, PGA. I mean, if EA mate it, I bought it, right? So
that's dope. I love that.
Probably should have stock in EA right now. Yeah. But, as I got older, those things kind of change. Your preferences kind of tweak. But you always hear about like how fun FIFA is and things like that. And so I think my turning point was like 2011, 2012 was when I like really started focusing on the game. And it was like, there's a lot going on at that time, right? So you had the NBC got the Premier League rights, started playing FIFA. And then, being a big sportswear brand, Nike was going crazy with their ads and, hyping up Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar. You seeing like crazy hairstyles. Like, you start to kind of see these things from afar. Just being in like the creative and marketing space, you start to notice like how dope, some of the stuff that Nike was doing with soccer. And so that was kind of intrigued me and piqued my interest a little bit more. And so I was like, all right, Premier League's coming. Maybe I should pick a team, right? I was like, all right, but we have a league here too. I don't have a team here. So let me just at least start watching this league, just kind of see what it's about, playing FIFA. So I'm kind of understanding the game a little bit, kind of, what is the offsides? Like, how does that even work type of thing, right? And the thing, and so when it came to watching MLS, I was like, all right, what team should I watch? All right, there's a team called Red Bull, or like the drink. Okay, cool. Let me check them out. Like, I know what Red Bull is, right?
Yeah.
So started watching the Red Bulls a little bit. There's this guy wearing number 12 playing for Red Bull, just slicing it up, Thierry Henry. Okay, so all right, this dude is dope, right? And then I think he goes on loan that year to Arsenal. I think he went back on loan to Arsenal that year. And it's like, all right, so since I'm following this guy, he went to this team called Arsenal. That's a dope ass name for a team. You know what I mean? Yep. Arsenal Gunners, like, cool. And they got this guy named Arsene Wenger that coaches him. Like, is he the owner? Did he start the team? His name's Arsene. Arsenal. Is it based off
I love that,
so,
bro.
Like, just not really knowing, just kind of
yeah.
So I was like, all right, this is cool. I'm gonna rock with them. I kind of like them. And then come to find out, like, my favorite rapper, Jay-Z, is an Arsenal fan. I was like, all right, I'm really fucking with Arsenal now. If Jay-Z likes him, then I like him as well. So kind of, that's kind of how my love affair with Arsenal began. And I just kind of immersed myself, grabbed the kit, started following the players.
That's awesome.
I think during that time we were perennially top 4. So we weren't like horrible, but we weren't like challenging for league as much.
You joined during the down times, man. Like during the, I don't think dark times. It wasn't dark, but it was just like,
it's like the Theo Walcotts, the Rosickis.
We kind of became used to just going after top 4. Like we stopped contending for titles consistently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've never known glory when it came to Arsenal. Like, you go back and do your research, you look at the Invincibles and, the glory days of the early 2000s. And it's like, man, I long for the opportunity to feel that, to feel my team win the league. But, like Jose said, a lot of dark days, up until recently, it's been very dark days. So as you can imagine, I'm a very happy man right now. And then kind of backing up to MLS again, Atlanta got a team. I live in the Atlanta area. So Atlanta United started up in 2017, or they announced it like 2015, but started up in 2017. And it's like, all right, now I got a local team to go watch. So huge Atlanta United. You guys were
good right away. Atlanta was good right off the bat.
And that definitely helped, right? And then second year won the championship or won the MLS Cup. So it's like, all right, I have a team now. That's a championship team. I'm good, So, and that's kind of where, and I just stayed down the rabbit hole from there. Just continue to fall deeper and deeper. Soccer is a passionate sport, and I've never, like, I'm a 49ers fan. I'm a Warriors fan, being from the Bay Area originally. And I've never like been this emotionally invested in any of the teams that I've followed since I've grown up, since I've been a kid, right? You love your teams, and if you lose, like, cool, we lost, but next week we're good, we're playing. But when Arsenal loses, like, my weekend is shot.
Yeah.
It's like
I feel that
it's a different level of emotion that I've never experienced with any other sport, and it's very unique. That's why when you get people who aren't soccer fans and they kind of come over and they start to experience it, like, they fall in love, because it's like there's a different type of passion and a different type of like emotional bond that you create with the team that you support that I haven't seen anywhere else. Like, and I don't know, it's hard to explain, but that's kind of how I fell in love with the game, and kind of I want my people to experience this drug that I'm on, like, and
I love it, bro. That's awesome. I think your path, by the way, is like, I don't know. I feel like it's pretty, I don't want to say common, because everybody has their own unique path into this game, but it's really, really cool, I should say, just to see that gaming was the path for you. It looks like it was the same path for Alina. Again, for those who don't know, Alina is a competitive and a pro FIFA player. That's what she does. And I'm kind of curious, Alina, as you heard, I'll kind of walk through that. I mean, do you feel like that was it that first? Because I know your family is tried and true football. So was it gaming first, or was it the opposite? Maybe football got you into FIFA, and then you just started going down that rabbit hole.
Man, I wish I could pinpoint it to like the exact thing that started me to get into football, but I know my uncles loved like Winning 11, like Pez back when it was called Winning 11, and like the early 2000s, like late 1990s.
North London FC. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, there you go.
So we would, they would like put on games. I would always watch with them. When they played Pez, we would, like create our own little characters, and they would make me into a character, like a very, small player. It's like an 8-year-old, running on the field. So that was my first like introduction into the world of football. And then, like in the middle of 2000s, that's when I actually like started watching, and then, I picked a team, picked some players that I liked. So I would say that I did watch it, but I really loved playing a football game. I think that's what really started my passion.
Awesome. I love that. FIFA's a gateway for so many people, man. It really is the same way Madden is for anybody who, I don't know, is picking up American football for the first time. Yeah. Let me ask you, you mentioned some of your favorite teams, kind of how you broke into this game. And I feel like it's very, like I said before, kind of common, but again, I don't want to, step on toes there and say that's the pathway for every casual American fan. I don't know, when you played some of these other games, well, first off, let me ask, is FIFA, what's the oldest FIFA you remember playing? Like when did you break into this? Is it 2011? Was it FIFA 10, FIFA 11, or was it before that?
I don't even remember, man. It was like PS3 era. I don't remember the specific one, but it was, before FIFA 20. I know for sure. So one of those. I can't remember exactly which one.
Yeah. There's so many of them, man. I remember the first one my dad ever bought me was FIFA 98.
Me too.
When Eric Winalda and Roy Lassiter were playing, and there was like they had an indoor arena. Where the ball never went out, so like it was like you hit it as high as you wanted to. It would just like
ricochet
and come right back into play. Yeah, it was pretty dope. I liked it. I thought it was a blast. It was my favorite game mode to play by far.
You could play with every. Yeah. You could play with every national team. Like you literally could play with like Zimbabwe, and Guatemala, and like Armenia, and like all these teams that were like very obscure and like would never make the World Cup. It was sick because it was called FIFA 98 Road to the World Cup. So you could pick any national team. And
go through the qualification, the entire qualification process.
It was
like that back then. EA didn't give a shit about things like player aesthetic. Like every player looked the same. They had like skin color differences, but every player looked roughly the same. So like they could spend more time and making every team available because aesthetics weren't like a big priority. So I miss that though. I mean, I don't know. Back then, you could still juke out every player on the other team with just like the same move, and multiplayer online wasn't a thing yet, so you were just trying to go against the computer difficulties to get qualified and stuff like that. It was fun. It was a good time. But I'm really kind of curious when you said you mentioned picking up every title, every type of EA Sports title. I mean, were you this into, I don't know, American football, basketball? Like was it always just soccer, or did you have other sports in the mix that you were just as passionate about?
Since I was young, I always wanted to play in the NFL. But, obviously was never big enough, that type of thing. So, like, growing up a huge 49er fan, huge Jerry Rice fan. So Madden was definitely the game that I played the most. That was, like, every single Madden I got. Like, I stopped buying Madden now, but, like, before then, like, getting every single Madden from, like, Genesis all the way up, right?
What about NCAA football?
Love NCAA. I can't wait for that to come back. That's my preferred football game, like NCAA. So played that for sure. Had my creative guy get drafted into Madden and stuff like that.
Hell yeah.
Also played NBA Live. Played a lot of NBA Live. Never really got into 2K. 2K is just too like complicated for me.
That's fair.
NBA Live is way more fun. It was at that point back when I played. But yeah, Madden was probably like the mainstay that I got every year. If I didn't get any other title, I got Madden for sure every year. Like when it came out, like October, usually like around October-ish, like right after the season started. So like, I think it's like, no, it came out like right around my birthday, which is like September 18th. So like October, late September, October. So like I used to get it for my birthday every year. And so yeah, Madden was the one.
That's awesome.
Sure.
FIFA's not too far away from that either, release date wise. I think it's like end of September, right?
Yeah.
Right, Lena?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now it's flipped though. So like I'll get the new FIFA that comes out.
Hell
yeah, seriously. Yeah, I love that, bro. For me, it's like FIFA and Call of Duty are like mainstay staples every year. Those are the ones I always get. Everything else, if I have time for and I can see myself playing it, I will. I'm also kind of a nerd. So like I'm gonna play like Hogwarts Legacy when it comes out. I'm a big Harry Potter fan.
I'm waiting for that one too.
Dude, I'm so pumped. Next month.
I think I'm gonna get it too.
You should. Everybody should. I think it's. I always told my parents as a kid, and like my wife now as an adult, I was like, sometimes you get those random questions as like icebreakers, like what superpower would you have? I'm like, I wouldn't have any. I would be a wizard, to be honest. Like I don't think I would ever have a superpower. It would be to be in the Harry Potter movies in real life. That would be my superpower.
That's actually my favorite type of game to play is third person open world games. I can't do first person. Like I'm horrible. I have horrible aim. So the shooters were never really for me. But those like story mode games, the
RPGs.
third person open world stuff like like the Red Dead Redemptions and
I'm playing that right now.
Duty, but
so good.
Yeah. What's another one? I have a bunch of games that like I bought but just don't have time to play. Like
GTA
RPG games. I mean, there's like Elden Ring, there's GTA, there's World of Warcraft. I mean, you could go down a massive rabbit hole with like the different types of RPGs that exist.
Assassin's Creed is my favorite.
Open
world game. I don't really like the art. I don't really like how they went to RPG with like the you got to like grind to like level up and all that other stuff. I think the first Assassin's Creed game I got was not Unity, the one after that with the twins. The guy.
That wasn't Valhalla, was it?
It was in like Victorian England.
Sick.
I didn't play Assassins back then. I don't think. I still like lightly touch it now, but mainly because I'm more interested in some of the side quest stuff they have. But
I think that was the last one that was like true to Assassin's Creed, and then it started going RPG with like Origins and all that other stuff. So I played those a little bit. I've never finished them. It's just too long of a game, and I don't have a lot of time these days to like really play. So like I have a bunch of half finished games. Like I started God of War. The newest one.
Was that good? Was that Ragnarok? Was that good?
Yeah, it's good. I haven't gotten too far in it, but I started it. What else do I have that's just sitting there? I actually finished Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
I love Spider-Man. Huge Miles Morales fan. Huge Spider-Man fan. I finished that one. But yeah, I love those like open world, story-driven games. Like that's what I really loved about FIFA. When they had like the story modes was like doing
Alex Hunter and all those.
Yeah, I really love that part of. They need to bring that back. Like because I don't play online. I don't play video games to like compete. I play video games to relax. So being able to immerse yourself in a story, that was something that was really engaging for me. So wish they would bring that back.
Yeah, the Alex Hunter story was dope. I think it was like FIFA 17 maybe or 16. I can't remember which one it was.
I think it went over like 2 or 3 games too.
Yeah, and they, man, I swear, I remember thinking like, that they put a feud in there, right? Like, eventually, you would find a way to have that feud with his like best friend from the academy days. I don't remember what his name was in the game.
Yeah,
I remember being like, "Fuck that guy!" Like, I just remember like being locked in on Alex Hunter's story, and him, just trying to get him to the top the quickest that you.
I think the last one was like him, his friend, and his sister. Like you could play all 3 of them.
Yeah,
they need to bring that back, man.
Yeah,
that was actually a really good story. Kind of like not a rags to riches story, but just like what every footballer dreams of, like those trial days in the academy, doing it with your friends, making it to a top team, even if your friends didn't make it, and like the decisions you make from there, right, and where your career goes. It's man, it's more enjoyable than career mode. That's for sure. It's like a different type of. It's almost like, I don't know, dynasty mode maybe in Madden. I can't really put my finger on it. It's not really like a true comparison to it out there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, we're getting close to wrapping up here. I think before we go, though, I want to hone in a little bit more on what's next for 2Cents FC. We've got to know a little bit of L, got to know a little bit about what you guys are building over there. I don't know how much you can really tease. You already gave us a little bit in terms of the Town FC and what you guys are looking to roll out with the pro team. I don't know, 2023, a lot of year left to play out. I mean, is there anything you can give us, or a really cool story that maybe offers some teasers for what's next?
2023, going to be a lot of announcements. I think by the time this episode comes out, there will have been an announcement for the Town FC. about our next phase. So something unique about the 2Cents FC is we're a women's first team. So we have women's and men's teams, but we're actually usually most teams are like men first, and then the women's team is kind of secondary. Yeah. Our team is flipped. So when the women's team first, the men's team is kind of secondary. We're really trying to push for NWSL in the Bay Area. So that's our ultimate end game, is to bring NWSL to the East Bay. But we have an announcement of, where we'll be playing in the next year, what league we'll be playing in for next year. So that'll be coming up this week, actually. And then on the 2Cents FC side, got some stuff and some conversations with MLS for a couple things around Black History Month. Have a couple of, partnerships that we're looking to announce or like roll out some content for. And then working on, a new content agency and consulting that I'm doing. So rolling out some stuff with that as well. That should be coming out in the next couple weeks as well. So a lot of exciting things on the horizon. It's going to be an exciting year. It's definitely going to be that, like, with it being the Jordan year, I'm hoping for championships.
Yes, sir.
Hoping for an Arsenal championship. The Niners are headed to the NFC championship again. So hopefully we can get a Super Bowl on that end as well. That would be a great cap off to the year. But yeah, just a lot of hard work on the horizon, and hopefully a lot of good announcements. Hopefully some good announcements for GOLZtv as well. I've been involved adjacently, with GOLZtv also. So excited to see what comes of it, and how you guys continue to grow and build.
I appreciate that, man. Sincerely. And look, I think with everything you guys have coming, the announcements in the short term, the work you're putting in for the long term, it's a mission that not many, I think, have thought of up to this point. And more importantly, I think it's a mission that not many would be brave enough to really kind of go after in a big way, the way that you are. So, from all of us here at GOLZtv and Box to Box, man, we're really excited for what you're building. Guys, if you want to learn more about 2Cents FC, about the town FC, or any of the projects that L is really kind of working on with his team, we're going to link all of their socials down below in the video. You can find them on a number of platforms out there, socially speaking, but you also find them on GOLZtv. We're excited to moving forward, I think, to bring more awareness to this project. I really do want to tell more stories that people and soccer fans out there just either haven't heard or aren't telling because they think it's not maybe worthy of being told. Mm-hmm. I think, screw all that. Like, we're kind of in this mission to tell as many stories as possible and make this game as relatable as it possibly can be for all groups, for all communities. I think it's the only way we get it to where we think it could go. It's kind of a shame that the rest of the world embraces footy in a way that North America does not. But hopefully groups like ours, GOLZtv and 2Cents FC can change.
Sounds like opportunity to me.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So, L, thank you, man, so much. Hopefully we can have a check-in episode, I don't know, midway through the year, something along those lines, to see how some of these projects are planning out. But guys, again, if you want to check out any of the work that he's doing, links down to everything are below in the description of this video. And from all of us here at Box to Box, myself, Andre, Alina, and for today, L, we thank you all for joining us and watching. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Peace.